Expect miracles this week. I can tell you this, things are not going to be simple. They're not impossible. The cards that came out whenever I pulled for the energy as we speak, because I've already done the reading for the month ahead, the week ahead, more so the week ahead. We'll do a reading for the month ahead later this week. But at least for the month ahead and just a heads up about May is what we're going to talk about today. But today's energy is what I want to talk about because we're still coming down off of this new moon. And so the cards I pulled was the Emperor, the Two of Swords, the Knight of Swords. Where we're at here in the middle of the deck, a choice, the Lover's card. But one that we have manifested, okay, so there is an opportunity to shift here, and we have manifested this, but I think there's a sense of resistance that we're all of a sudden feeling as we have this choice presented to us. And the challenge, control. So what I'm hearing from, and the other thing I do want to say is I turned on my music, my Pandora, to get a guided song, and it was Wait For Me by Kings of Leon. And it's funny because I almost said Don't Wait For Me. And I think that's the message. So we have this Emperor, and he's saying to me, I can't stop doing the same thing. I can't stop repeating the same cycle. Like, I can't break this pattern, and I don't know why. And if you read my Substack for the new moon, it is about shame and pride and prejudice. And it's something that I've been talking about a lot recently because many of you guys are hitting bumps in the road due to ancestral healing that is necessary for you to progress, not just as a human being, but in your own path, just due to the current events. There's things that we're gonna have to adapt to. And there's ways in which our body, our brains, our chemistry needs to be rerouted. Our subconscious needs to be rerouted because we're not used to this type of transition, this type of chaos, right? Especially for those of you who are more type A or more practical or, more organized. Like, this is not something that your body or your mind or, your energy is gonna like. Right, so you got to do something to adapt. Now, this feels like especially driven towards the masculine collective because, again, yesterday we hit that final point of Pluto opposing Mars over the past 6 months. So it has been like trial after trial after trial after trial that put a spotlight on the masculine qualities of our society, as us as human beings and as like a world. So yeah, uprooting the patriarchy, yeah, pointing out toxic masculinity, yeah, like aggressively wanting to fight back, right? Because Mars, war. So, and Pluto is all about the future right now. In Aquarius, it's about innovation. It's about experimentation. It's about pushing us to let go of the traditional ways of looking at things and living and experiencing things and trying to find a new perspective. But it's almost like something that doesn't want to fully let go of the past. And I think that's what the King of Leon's song was about. That might even be something more, microcosmic for you. Like, it might have to do with a relationship or something with the Lovers here. But essentially, I'm looking at this from the perspective of Gemini energy. Now, we have a lot of Gemini energy coming in May, and so I'm just going to briefly say this because I'm going to do another video later this week on the month of May. But of course, the sun is going to move into Gemini later this month, and it is preparing us for quite a few transits in the near future. Uranus moving into Gemini, Jupiter leaving Gemini. What did we gain from that? What are we moving into with Uranus? And also, like, how is Gemini going to challenge us with the other transits that are going to be shifting in at play? So again, there's something about curiosity here. Pluto moves into retrograde in the 3rd degree of Aquarius on Sunday. So again, a huge focus during this retrograde period on curiosity, on learning, on growth. But there is so much challenging our growth right now in terms of adaptation. Are you ready to change and break the patterns? And that's what this new moon was about. So if there was a new moon that felt more like a full moon, this one was it. Because again, there was so much about final endings here, so much around pressurization between that T-square of Lilith and Scorpio, Mars and Leo, and Pluto and Aquarius, and then the new moon in Taurus. Like, all fixed signs were like, pushed to adapt, and fixed signs are stubborn. So, do you know what I'm saying? There's so much illumination on what we get stuck on, how we get frustrated and hold ourselves up. And specifically a lot around survival mechanisms. So really, that's where I'm saying this Four of Pentacles come into play. It's like, yes, we're focused on how we might have some issues with control, prejudice, pride, and those types of things, like deeper ancestral things that we're focusing on, becoming more self-actualized. But at the end of the day, all of this stuff stems from survival. The whole reason greed, I see it as a healer, exists is because pride gets out of control. Right? It's like, once you do access money, usually there was like a struggle that led up to that. If not in your life, someone's life along the way, in your bloodline, right? Someone had to start the path at some point. And whoever that person was probably fought tooth and nail to gain those riches, right? And so the more it is passed down, the more the pride, it digs deep into our bones. Same thing if you're poor and you're, had to fight within this own lifetime to take care of yourself, or still do. There's the pride, fighting, constantly fighting to survive. So much around the root chakra happening, so much around safety and stability, so much around whether or not you've been able to access support. So much around the father wound. How much you're supported and how much you're not. And one of the main things that I was hearing from these cards as well is we always support the wrong people. Why do we do this? This is a cycle as well. I think some of you guys take this as this resonates, because this isn't for everyone. This is just something that's coming off. And I would say for a lot of you guys, this is the people in your bloodline or similar bloodlines, similar challenges of people around you, adversaries potentially, of something that you have probably already broken in your own bloodline. Choosing yourself, breaking a pattern of not facing the problem at hand and continuing on a cycle of trusting the wrong things, being loyal to the wrong things. Because it's not about you not being loyal to your family and not loving your family. A lot of times it has to do with the fact that the family unit itself is toxic and doesn't want to see it. And so in order for you to be loyal to yourself, you have to let go and move forward. And so there's something here around seeing that in the world around you and how we are loyal to the wrong things, and seeing how groups, political groups and things like that, are loyal to the wrong things because they would rather stomach a lie than stomach the truth about their own accountability. And that's one of the hardest things of like, when do you let go? How do you discern this energy when it's pulling on you desperately to either pull you back so that it doesn't have to see where it needs to hold accountability, or how it's trying to beat on you and interfere with you and fight with you because of what you're illuminating. The song playing right now, Elastic Heart by Sia. Because your blade, it might hit too hard. I think some of you guys, your truth is so sharp. It cuts so many people around you, and they're having a hard time sitting with that truth and that reality check. And that's what this new moon was about, was anchoring this truth into this new paradigm so that you don't continue to get knocked over by people who are not aligned with you. so that you can not only be an example to them, but continue on your path. Because a lot of times when you are the lighthouse for someone, there is opportunity for them to drag you backwards and drag you down. And many of you realize, like, there's something has got to give, and this was the universe showing you what you need to do to maintain your path, but also to not knock them down, but to rather guide them. Maybe not intentionally, just guide them by being yourself. And maybe that was your lesson, to stop intentionally guiding them, because it was taking you off focus from your path. To just fully be yourself and own it, live in it. But whatever you weren't expressing, that's what the universe showed you in this new moon. Whatever you weren't taking advantage of in your reality, that's what the universe showed you in this new moon. Whatever permission you weren't giving yourself. But I'm not gonna lie, this was one of the most intense moon cycles where there was just so much aggressive adamancy in the background, forcing and forcing and forcing, and it made me feel forceful. And you can read that in my Substack, where I describe my experience as a medium, as a channeler with this energy. It's just been insanely intrusive. It was so much to take on. But again, I do have an activated Kundalini, so I work through activations with that Kundalini, and I do feel this in my body so loudly sometimes, so vividly. So it's just so much. So I've started describing those experiences on my Substack, and I really hope that you go read them. If you like creative writing, this would be right up your alley, because I really talk about what I go through as a medium, as a channeler, as a healer through these moon cycles, and I also describe what they're showing me about the collective. So hop over there when we're done here and subscribe for free so that you get the updates when those readings come out. So anyway, back to the message. So we're still floating through this, until Wednesday. And I will see the other thing that I didn't say with this is the Two of Swords. Let's talk about this really quick. So one of the things that I explained in my Substack, and again, go check that out for more, was this experience of gaslighting from the universe. I felt like everything that I had intuitively gained messages about, everything that I had been told by my guides, everything that was coming through my channel was not being confirmed or validated by my cards. And it almost felt like the universe, my algorithm, the comment section, the way that my posts were gaining traction or not gaining traction was so gaslighting and invalidating. The way my live on TikToks were going, on my live streams were going, it just seemed like everything was being pushed to a halt. No one was seeing my point. Everybody was so focused on the wrong things, and not necessarily the people in my lives. It just felt like the lives were being slowly constricted. But everything that I would see other people talk about on the internet, just in general, just felt like it was so off path. Not just for me, like it just felt like everybody was kind of pulled outside of anything that was purposeful. So anyway, you can go read that on my Substack, but I do get the sense that, again, this is exactly how, psychological abuse happens. And I felt like what I was experiencing was PTSD in like surround sound, like in 3D form, like it was just everywhere, 5D really, because it was coming at me in so many different ways. And I'm really good with my channel to discern between trickster spirits and messages from tricksters versus like what is actually coming from my higher self. But it was like 3D form, where it was like everything in the physical plane was gaslighting what I knew to be true. And it took me back to so much psychological abuse that I've experienced in my life. And it was so intense. But I was also seeing other people kind of fall in that too. And I was like, wow, it just seems like people aren't seeing what's happening. And I don't know how to communicate this. And I think that was the whole point, was my guides were pushing me in a corner to create with it. create. You know how this works. You know how this, you know how this works psychologically. You know how this works at a spiritual level, and an awakening level, and an activation level. So create with it. Hecate was like, paint, girl, create, like do what you're gonna do, and forget about, you know, the plans that you had, the routine, right? Your itinerary for work. Stop worrying about it. So I will say the stalling was really intense, and if you feel like something is off, it probably is. But be mindful about how you judge your messages right now, because I will say a lot of what we're experiencing collectively is a mechanism of a lot of people who you are quantumly entangled with awakening to their own truth and to a whole new perspective for themselves as well, you know, as you were upgrading. So never forget that. And I think that this is actually this is one way that spiritual psychosis creeps in, is when we see all this stuff and we feel like no one else does. That's when we get this holier than thou Messiah complex. When I see it all and no one else does, right? And that's when we start to go down a psychosis route with our perspective, and we're unable to ground what we're gaining in a way that it helps us reconnect with the world around us. So this was really that moment of like, no, you all gotta stop. Everybody's got to stop. You know, the universe is pushing us in a corner, slowing us down, making us have these reality checks, so that we not only have the awakening and the shifts in perspective, but that we take a second to see how this is meant to be used. You know, our unique angle on it, and how we're being called to use it, put it into some kind of creative expression or project or whatever. Or just, you know, adaptive steps forward into the future. So that was really the new moon. Bing boom bop. That was the new moon. And again, check out my Substack if you want to read my expression of the whole event. Now let's get into, because things are about to shift in terms of luck. And that comes around Wednesday, as when I say it's probably already starting to begin. You're starting to see glimmers of hope. But really we have a big shift across the board Wednesday when Venus moves into Aries. Okay, and the thing about any of you have Venus in Aries, you are the type of people who are Venus Aries people, like to take risks, and they prosper from taking risks. Risky moves, risky business, like it's just, you're just good at attracting things when it's fast paced, when it's your way, when it's you know, they're seen in love as a bit selfish. So I think there's an aspect of Venus and Aries that helps us take everything that we're shifting you know, and growing into with the Pisces North Node and all the Pisces transits that have been happening, that open our eyes, expand us, right? Help us see through new lenses, and then brings it back to us and says, how are you going to work this? And not only how are you going to work this, how are you going to let go of that need to be right, to have 100% confidence or 100%, you know, confirmation, validation from the world around you that's going to work, right? How are you going to let go of a little bit of that need for caution, throw a little bit of that caution to the wind, and allow innovation and experimentation to start happening? That is literally what this Venus in Aries is teaching us. So that's the thing here. And again, sometimes that rubs us the wrong way, because Venus in Aries is like, I know myself, I know what I want, I know what I like, and I'm good at getting it. Because I'm not afraid to be messy. I'm not afraid to, you know, stand out. I'm not afraid to call the shots. And I'm not afraid to call the shots when no one else agrees. Because I'm Venus in Aries. So that's the whole thing here, is there's going to be a lot of adversaries. There's going to be a lot of controversy, just because naturally that's what's happening right now. Are you able to move forward despite it, right? And make the moves that you're called to make regardless? That is Venus in Aries. Now, what's going to assist with this is on Thursday, we have Uranus sextiling the North Node. So there's a harmonious aspect between rebellious acts as they have to do with Taurus, financial, material things, right? And love. And our North Node, our path of purpose, our aligned path. So there's going to be this harmonious and supportive aspect coming in to any kind of risky business, or I say risky business like there's some negative connotation to it, I think, and I want to take that negative connotation away. Like every time I say it, I feel this sense of like this projection from the perspective audience, and that's a reflection of myself as well. But how I see the world is, I think right now we're also dealing with that. A lot of people still shifting out of traditional views and things that are holding us back collectively when it comes to making moves that are different and that, you know, are breaking conformity, non-conformist, you know, ways of being. So be mindful of that too. Like if you feel like I can't do this because of what people are going to think, check that. That's what this is all about. So again, you're going to have some things that come in here that are supportive and are going to assist you as you break those patterns and as you move forward. Expect that Wednesday, Thursday this week. Then Friday, we have Venus conjunct Neptune. Okay, so Venus and Neptune meet up, and I believe it's the first degree of Aries. So Neptune is going to illuminate some of our fears around taking those risks as Venus is encouraging it. So if you have some fears arise, if you have some discomfort arise as you start taking those steps, don't pull back. I think there's always, when that starts to happen, there's like this, we get, you know, cold feet. This is a reminder, don't do that. Try and lean into it. All right, because this aspect is helping you further shed anything that's holding you back from this new paradigm. It is going to assist you the more that you face those fears, so don't run. And then later on Sunday, Pluto goes retrograde at 3 degrees Aquarius, again, which is a Gemini degree. So it is going to ask you to be curious about the future. And it's going to put more, more attention on issues that you're having with the future, accepting the future, adapting to it, and breaking patterns that need to be broken. So with that, you know, being said, let's do a pull on, a card pull on what is coming later this week, because, you know, I broke it down, but I want to see what the cards have to say. I will have a reading later this week on my Substack as well to talk about this. And I will say a lot of what's coming in is money. There's something here about seeing both sides of the coin. Law of polarity. There's always going to be, you know, darkness and light and darkness, right? That's where I'm feeling triggered, and I think there's going to be so much here around, again, opposition, adversaries, people who don't want to see you succeeding. And so you've got to be careful here whenever you are making moves that are aligned with you, and you're feeling pushback. It doesn't necessarily mean, right? It's like sometimes manifestation comes to be like, go after the path of least resistance. Not in this case. Not in this case, because some of you, you're going to feel that pushback, and it's going to be your perception of other people's hang-ups, other people's karmic past patterns coming up. It's not, because I'm feeling it so heavily in the third eye. Your perception can shift, you know, depending on how much you're taking that on from the outside world. And if other people around you are confused by you, doesn't mean stop. It means lean into it further and let the people who are aligned with you to come in, right? Don't pull back and run back to something that's misaligned. But it's funny because in the background we have Chainsmokers. Say you'll never let me go. right? And so there's, again, don't let go, that energy that we started with, the Emperor coming out. So some of you guys, there is someone here in your life, and take this as it resonates. Maybe it's not someone, maybe it's a job or something, but maybe it's even a thought pattern. But there is something that is more in masculine energy here that probably normally calls the shots and wants you to hang on to them so that they don't have to grow. I do think that this is a result of the new path. Page of Wands here with the Ace of Swords. There's a new path here and someone's afraid to go on it alone. Someone's afraid to experience the new alone, and someone wants, to pull you back to go with them, but a lot of you guys are past them in this. Okay, so in this situation, it's like you've outgrown a job, you've outgrown a community, you've outgrown a relationship, and it's time for you to move forward in life, which means this person also, or this situation also, is going to have to adapt or move on a new journey, and they're not accepting of it. I will say the Morgan came through before this as well, before I got on here to record, and she said the song Redbone. Daylight, I wake up feeling like you won't play right. Yeah, so that's the line that's coming through. We thirst for something we don't even want and we don't know why. That was from the Masculine Collective. That's what I heard in my channel. So again, there's something here where it's like someone's yearning for you, but it's like out of a younger aspect of themselves. It's out of a less mature aspect of themselves, a less developed aspect of themselves. And what they're seeking is some kind of solace, some kind of comfort, some kind of crutch. To be honest, it feels like, leaning on you as a crutch, and that's not even what they're thirsty for, but it helps fill a void. So be mindful of that. Five of Swords, the Hangman. Someone's projecting or someone's self-sabotaging when they should be finding perspective in a situation. It's time for someone to see through new eyes, and they're refusing. It does feel like someone's working diligently on this though, but they're not having a whole lot of, at least in their own eyes, success with it. Eight of Pentacles, but it came out a little bit crooked. So somebody's working diligently on trying to find this new perspective, but it just feels like they keep hitting a wall. And it's funny because we have the High Priestess there. I think this is about the intuition you have when it comes to this situation or this person, but I also think the funny thing is here is this person is literally being called to access this within themselves, which is their feminine energy. It's rooted in their intuition, the darkness, the void within themselves, and maybe they're avoiding it out of what? Their logical mind. King of Swords, Knight of Swords. That's funny that I almost said Eight of Swords. Being trapped in a mental booby trap. It's not even real. It's just your mind. Okay, creating this sense of lack. Anything else? Yeah, Ten of Pentacles, the Judgment in reverse. I think, okay, again, Judgment came out kind of reverse, like more so than the Eight of Pentacles. But still at an angle, still kind of hopeful that we might have this judgment moment. We might have this new, we might finally call it and see it for what it is. But the Ten of Pentacles in reverse sideways gives you the sense that this person sees lack, sees loss in money. But what they don't see is a lot of this is coming from their resistance to adaptation or adapting to this new path, to their insecurities around this, and maybe their need for codependency. They're feeling like, I need someone to go on this path with me, or I need something, an addiction, maybe this job that's no longer aligned, right? Some way of being that is more focused on the pragmatics of something versus the actual feeling and experiencing and expression and art and creativity of the new path. So again, it feels like this judgment, you know, is trying to be called in a situation. It does feel like this is this person's ability to call judgment and say, okay, got it. I see it. I need to move forward. But yeah, someone's resistant. And again, with the Ten of Pentacles, this denotes is because I cannot stand the loss. I cannot stand, you know, being ripped of some kind of financial stability, feeling like I'm losing out in a way that I shouldn't. And the funny thing is Five of Swords, this is self-sabotage because it feels like this is within somebody's reach if they will shift their perspective and take it into their own hands, right? But it's going to require a shift of perspective. It's going to require a shift of behavioral patterns, a shift in how they take action. So yeah, something has to do with passion, and it's like, are we putting our passion in the wrong place? Are we putting our passion in sex versus art and creativity? So that, again, when it comes to the Lovers coming out, right, that could be one thing, but it also could be again, ardency, adamancy for a path or for a way of being that doesn't work, that's misaligned. So ardency, arrogance even, right, with this Knight of Wands. Pettiness, angstiness, that kind of thing that has us tripping over our own feet constantly. Self-sabotaging. Yeah, with the Three of Cups, again, this could also be some kind of obsession or obsessive energy or substance abuse. So instead of changing this, instead of looking at this, instead of gaining perspective, we're using something to escape. Or we're just, our escapism is obsessively, logically thinking about how to get through, when really it's about letting go, creating, surrendering, experiencing, and finding a way through your own passion and creativity. It also feels like, for the most part, we've already come to this conclusion in some way, shape, or form, but we're refusing to accept it and own it and live it. And I see this a lot in you know, early sobriety, when you have that, like, but I need this, there's like a craving here is what I'm getting. There's a craving for something. And again, this could literally be the craving to know the answers, when the universe is like, I don't want you to know the answers. That takes the fun out of the innovation and the experimentation. That takes your angle out of something. If you know the answers before, which is the experience I was having with this new moon, was like, the universe is like, if you don't just create and get messy and just have fun with it, right? Take your mind off of the how and let us worry about, you know, the how, and just let it fall into place, right? My cards wouldn't even work. I put that in my sense. My cards wouldn't even work at one point. I was like, none of these readings make sense. Nothing is making sense. And it is driving me insane that nothing makes sense and nothing is lining up with my messages. And I just want confirmation. They were like, that's exactly the problem. You have an addiction to getting the validation from the cards. So again, I'll be honest. I'll help you out a little bit. And I talked about that in my in my reading on Substack. But yeah, maybe this is an addiction to something here, or an obsession, you know, to having some specific angle, and you're not getting it. Do you know what I'm saying? And because you're not getting it, you're refusing to let yourself have it. And the universe is like, I'm gonna let you have it, but I need you to back off of the how, when, where, why. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's when the magic happens. That's when the creativity happens. That's when the art comes out, you know. And the other thing that I saw whenever I tapped in for this reading as well, before I started recording, was the corner of a frame, and it was like I don't know what it's called, the details of, I think it's called foiling or foil something, the details of, like, it was like golden emblem, like little decorative stuff in the corner of a frame, of a picture frame. And it made me think of, like, wanting to see the bigger picture, but the beauty and all of the glory is in the corner. And that's so interesting. I'm feeling very emotional as I say that, as if what someone needs to know is that the universe put you in the corner so that you could access that. Oh my God. Take a second. I'm feeling it in the solar plexus. Yeah, because I'm getting this sense of like someone has been put in the corner, and by being put in the corner, you're fighting for the bigger picture, or you're fighting for, you're not able to feel good about yourself or feel confident, but it's in the corner, like when you're being put in the corner, that all of the creative power comes out. It's in the details, the beauty, and you know, I can't come up with the cliche saying right now. For some reason, it's like slipping my mind. But yeah, it's in the details. Now, Queen of Pentacles face down, it does feel like this is someone else's energy here, someone else's emotions here. So take this as this resonates. Someone's higher self is speaking to them through what I'm saying right now, or through what they were experiencing, and maybe they were denying that. And maybe what I'm saying is helping bring clarity. But yes, it feels like someone's higher self was trying to speak to them through whatever they were experiencing in whatever corner they were pushed into. And she looks like she's just looking at this pentacle, kind of doubtful, right? But it's like, look at the beauty in that card. It is in the corners, right? It is in the foliage and in the corners and whatnot. But again, like the Queen of Pentacles, like she sits on so much wisdom, she sits on so much experience, but it's stone. It's got a little bit of like grayness, dullness, dull aspect, death even to it, right? But around her, so much color and beauty. So this is like reframing a problem right now. That's what we're going through collectively. Reframing a problem, and rather seeing it as, you know, a full stop, rather than seeing it as a dead end. Rather, we're seeing it as an opportunity to redirect. But it didn't come out, it didn't come without some kind of really difficult energy from some kind of reunion. And again, for some of you guys, this wasn't in real life, but this is what's like being pushed back by people. It may be, again, it might not have been direct, but it was definitely people who in the past, not the exact person maybe, but their energy, the way they pushed you back, this happened again with someone, with something. You know, the ways that you've been denied your truth, the way that you were not allowed to express yourself, or that your expression wasn't good enough. It came through some way, somehow, through this new moon, and dug at that inadequacy wound, dug at that sense of failure, sense of not being good enough, sense of not being lovable. You know, whatever it was, that abandonment, that rejection, it came up heavy through this new moon, and it created this sense of apathy, nihilism even. Like, why even try? Do you know what I'm saying? And I just feel this lingering sadness so that I feel like this is still going on. But it does feel like the sun, 6 of Wands and the sun, we are getting some kind of clarity as we move into this week. And it does have so much more to do with the inner child. It's going to help us move forward. It's going to help us get past this rut. But the biggest thing is we've got to kind of focus on our emotions and take that step up in the masculine, right? So let go of this need of like everything being right, everything being sturdy, and let the emotions kind of guide us as to how we move forward. And specifically, you know, again, action, production is a masculine trait. So specifically when it comes to our actions, our productions, and how we move forward, you know, bringing an emotional quality to it and letting go of that ultimate power and stability or confirmation. All right, I do feel, and I taste a bitter taste in the back of my tongue, which is, you know, in some witchy communities, it is believed to be a release of like a negative attachment. What else is coming in? Yeah, so some of you guys, especially those of you who, you know, you're on path, but you just needed a little bit of redirection with how you access your path. The end of a tough cycle, trust this, know this, and practice gratitude. And I feel like that's when your luck will come in, is when you start to practice gratitude and believe that the universe is going to bring you more. That's when the universe brings you more. For this other collective, again, adjustments are required. We're still somewhat resistant to it. Again, this doesn't mean everybody who was being called to make adjustments is going to make adjustments either. You always have to, you know, keep that in mind, is just because the masculine collective is being challenged right now doesn't mean that every masculine in the world is going to have that reality check and abide by what the universe is calling it to do, right? There's still going to be toxic masculinity in the world. Obviously. Do you know what I'm saying? But there is definitely some energies here that they're starting to see it. They're starting to awaken to it. They, you know, where we were completely blind to it, it is starting to come in and we're starting to become aware of it. So now, how do we adjust? Again, for those of you with the end of the tough cycle here as well, this is also for you. And again, I feel like, especially if there's codependency here, just remember, the more that you take action in the right direction for you, the more the other person can too. And it's like when you let go, they can let go. Now, obviously, it's not that cut and dry, but you get the gist. That's how energy works, right? When we stop pulling because like attracts like, right? Law of attraction, like attracts like. If you're being pulled on by someone, you're pulling on them in some way. So the codependency is still there in some aspect. Again, not always 100% true because of complications with all kinds of things. We're not going to get into it. But, you know, if this is like a marriage that you're going through a divorce, right? If this is like you broke up with a friend, you know what I'm saying? It's like you broke up with a job. It's like the less you talk, the less that you gossip with your friends, the less you focus on that in your mind, the less that you're going to feel its pull, you know, even if they're still working through something. Do you get what I mean? So the other thing too, with the 4 of Cups and the 8 of Wands here, so the energy pulling on you and keeping you in apathy or from taking action, nothing will come of the situation. That was face down. I do feel like this is mostly for the external party, and I do think that this is going to come to someone's awareness. Or if you don't see this, like some of you guys, I think there's this fear that something's coming and that you need to stop it. This is like you don't need to stop this, you don't need to worry about it. Things are going to work out for you, you just don't see how yet, and that's totally fine. But if you do feel like something's still pulling on me, something is still kind of digging at me, again, zoom out, because a lot of people are going through ascension right now. Law of oneness, there's a lot of cords attaching you to other people's awakening, and it's not always personal, but it might feel like it at times. So just nothing will come of the situation. Know that, believe that, and let go of what you can't control. Anything else as we finish this? Masculine collective, attuned to the divine. Okay, you're not saying something clearly still. Again, just like I just talked about, attuned to the divine. Okay, I think there is this pressure too. What came through when I was reading the adjustments are required card is there is this desire to put the responsibility on the feminine and say, no, but she needs to change too. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's exactly where we're having this challenge with the masculine collective. Is like this refusal to see, to go within and really see this from a new light. Okay, so masculine collective, let it go. Get my eyes being driven to Redbone, the Morgan, the message from the Morgan. Let it go. You and your loved ones are safe. Okay, and I think again for the feminine collective, let the universe kind of take control of the situation. But how can you focus on your emotions, because that is what this masculine energy is pulling on within you, is your emotions. It's affecting your emotions in an insidious way, not a very direct way. So again, this was kind of what I experienced with PTSD. It's like, you know, kind of breaking cords with someone who is cut off from the heart, and then you have 50 more of those strings in the universe, and more and more and more the higher you go up with your ascension path. And so it's in your DNA, and it's like, it's just everywhere. That's what I'm experiencing. That's what I talked about in my readings over the past week or so on Substack. So again, if you're having something similar and you're kind of pushing higher and higher in your energy field, go check that out, because it might help you and it might bring perspective. But I see so often so many people are afraid of quantum entanglement, and I don't want to be tied to a narcissist, but just remember, law of polarity, the opposite always exists. And I'm gonna dive into the law of polarity in my next reading on Substack, which should be out Wednesday, Thursday. So again, for now, how can you detach from something that is completely outside of your control and get into your own energy and really swim in that and experience of that and feel that and create from that place? And if you can't find it, create from whatever you're feeling and transmute it in that way. But I just keep hearing this in the ethers. It's like, when I talk about this, it's like there's almost like this tessellation happening of energies, communicating throughout the ethers, saying, let go, as I put this out there. And again, it has to do with the masculine collective, but it's you have to understand, again, as a healer and as someone who works in more shamanic levels of healing, we're talking about the monadic structure. We're talking about not just the person letting go, but their spirit letting go, their soul letting go, their ancestors letting go, those aspects of themselves that they might not be fully conscious of letting go. Do you know what I'm saying? So look at the bigger picture is the message when it comes to this masculine energy. I know it's driving some of you guys crazy. I know it feels like you cannot cut this cord, but maybe it is your ascension. Maybe it is your energy field upgrading and activating, and you don't have to know all the ins and outs of it. Don't worry so much. Focus on what are you creating. Focus on your inner child. That's where it is, right? That's where the magic happens. And the challenge, breathe through the tension. Because again, all of this is just an aspect of Pluto. And I know we're so tired of Pluto, but we are just in the beginning stages of this transit, Pluto and Aquarius. So just remember that, it's not going to happen overnight. You don't have to rush. It's funny, as I was going through this last little bit, I felt like I was talking faster, and I was consciously all right, slow down as you're talking about this. But I can feel that almost I can't slow myself down. And I think that's what we're going to start feeling towards the end of the week as well. So some of you guys, you're going to gain traction, but it doesn't mean these challenges just go away overnight, right? This is we're adapting as a species. So we're evolving as a species. So just kind of, let it, find new ways of working through this. Find new ways of breaking down this experience that you're having and finding a way that works for you, right? Finding some kind of new routine or new activity, and putting that energy in a hobby or a creative process, right? Find that, and again, focus on you. And a lot of, again, my reading was just reaffirm with yourself that you are safe, that it's not your fault. We are all going through this, and I know everybody and their brother has a perspective on what's happening, but come back to yourself, come back to the bigger picture, and see it as literally an aspect of evolution. It's not your fault. You are a part of this. You are a part of this evolution. You are just a piece of it. You are not responsible for saving it, fixing it. You're just a piece of it. But your experience is valid. Your experience is important. So use it to create and make the life that you want. So take that and take care. And again, be on the lookout for this month ahead class, because I'm going to have a class this month in May. And new readings. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and go over to my Substack and subscribe there for more readings and join me on TikTok for live streams. Take care.